Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Sissy. How was your weeks this week, Sissy?
My weeks? Oh, pretty good.
Your weeks were pretty good?
Squared.
Well, you had a bye week.
I did.
So, I was thinking maybe tell me a little bit about what you did on your couple weeks of sabbatical.
Yeah, so last week, my bye week was because my kiddo had a performance to do. So I went and attended that with the fam, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
So
take a break for fam time.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Sounds good. What anything else happening? I know that we've talked a couple times over this period of time, and we're going to do something a little bit different. Sissy is something that she's done quite a bit of research on, and she was just wanting to bring to the table. It is a national issue, or it's what's going on right now on a national level, you could say, or even a global level, really. And so we're just going to go into the program like normal, where we discuss some things that are local, as like we always do. And then from there, we'll move on to the stuff that Sissy wants to bring to the table this week.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's good. Okay. So a couple things that I want to bring up. I don't know anybody that hasn't been seeing all the rain lately. Yesterday was a very rainy day. It's very nice. Last couple of days have been awful humid and rainy. Nice fall season going on here. But I saw something that Cake News put out, which was that Wichita has gotten 4.16 inches of rain at the airport. And that's the highest single day total since September 9th, 2016.
Wow.
So, and that was one day ago. I mean, obviously, who knows? We had more rain. So it's quite possible that number inched up even more, and just over the grouping of the couple days or whatever that got quite a bit of rain.
Yeah.
Anybody around here knows we got quite a bit of rain.
We did.
I was wondering what in goodness gracious is coming down out there. It was raining cats and dogs.
Almost literally.
Cats and dogs.
I actually saw a cat fall off of a tree in the rain. It was literally raining a cat.
Yeah.
For at least 6 feet or so. But
yeah. Still, they tried to get up the thing, and it was too slippery wet for them, huh?
Yeah. And I managed to get both my shoes wet on the way into work yesterday.
Oh, how
and then
lovely.
again at lunch. So,
how lovely.
Squishy toes.
Wet
most
feet
of the day.
all day is the way to go, Sissy.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
I guess.
It's got to be good for you. But speaking of other things that happen kind of locally, but not, I know we've had this energy debate here locally. If we had a windmill, it's going to start on fire and burn the county down. This whole thing, we've heard this discussion, I don't know on how many occasions and whatnot. But I noticed that yesterday, Andover police had a cell phone tower that was on fire in Central Park, and were advising people to stay out of the area. And I just thought, when I first looked at the picture, I thought, oh my word, that's a windmill that's on fire near Andover. And then I realized, no, it's a cell tower.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my word, the wrong people see that, and we'll be trying to ban cell phone towers.
Oh, it's the 5G. The frequency's too hot.
Yeah, that's what it is. Must be the frequencies are too hot.
Yeah.
I've heard all kinds of things. Oh, I've heard some wild conspiracy theories here lately, Sissy. I'd like to lay on you. Having to do with vaccinations and 5G and all that good stuff. Another one. Gonna get into it. I know that now all of the forums have been conducted, unless somebody wants to throw one in there. A couple, like a shorter time period before Election Day. But I noticed that Cake also put out some news that Newman University is going to cut academic programs and staff as a realignment process.
I saw that.
And basically what happens is you read down through the article, folks, it's just addressing once again the same thing that was a topic of discussion for our own board here, which was what to do about declining enrollment. And the truth of the matter is, anybody that's going to try to promise you that they're going to do something about future enrollment, or that they're going to do something, or there's some magic bullet, the truth of the matter is we just have less people that need to attend school. So, really the issue that we should be talking about is the candidates that have previously been school board members, or currently, I guess we could say, incumbents. But I don't want to get off on that too soon. I just want to say, they're the ones that are currently addressing the issue. It's an ongoing issue. It's something that's going to constantly be a burden. Walton was a good example of what took place. They were having decreasing school numbers. They were going to have to cut costs to a school somewhere, somehow, and Walton happened to be the one that it happened with. And we kind of saw it happen in our community over that one. That was a
Right.
big deal, and it still is a big deal in a lot of people's hearts and minds, and no doubt is going to at least subversively wind up dictating how some people choose to vote and not vote based on that.
True.
So anywho, thought that was interesting. It's not just something that's happening here; it's happening everywhere, and we need to just keep our eyes on it and our ear to the ground, or however you want to, nose up, whatever, and just make sure that we really are paying attention to what these school board members are doing in reference to the issue, because trying to change the issue, well, that might just be futile. You'll waste all your time trying to reverse something that's going to happen indefinitely, because that's just the way it's happening, and not appropriate what they need to do with the decline. If that's, I hate to say it that way, but they're a public entity, so it is what it is. I got a couple other things, Sissy. Sorry, I'm throwing you down, but I brought some to the table. DEA National Take Back Day is Saturday, October 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can go down to the Harvey County Law Enforcement Center, and you can drop off whatever excess drugs that you might have on hand. And that's a really important thing to do. We know that through research that a lot of first-time drug usage happens in the home with medication. Sadly, today, that children just experiment with or accidentally get into the hands because it's medication that, well, you don't need anymore. You didn't throw it away. You're really not supposed to throw it down the toilet. So this is an adequate way to be able to get that done. I know the program will air before then. So that's something that if you hear the program now, you can get there and do that. And last but not least, Sissy, I do believe that I have a sad note.
Okay.
It is officially wintertime. Do you know how I know this, Sissy?
How do you know this?
Because the Harvey County parks are starting to close everything down.
I did see something about some have a little bit of heat, so we can keep those open a little longer, but they are going to start doing that.
Yep, it says the Bluestem restroom is going down, Campers Road restroom, and then I guess at Willow Bend area, they'll try to keep it open as long as they can. So folks, if you're headed to the lake to enjoy some winter camping, it might be a little bit difficult without the use of the facilities there, but all in all, I don't think you can camp there at wintertime anyway all the time. I don't know, I'm sure there's something there, but
Who
still
knows?
yet.
But I did see that Sunday it's going to be very chilly.
Yes.
So there's that.
In the forecast, folks, it looks like snow. So maybe we shouldn't count our chickens before they're hatched. But I might add that it looks like it's going to be awful brisk, and there's probably a pretty good chance of having some snow. And given the moisture that we've had here recently, maybe we'll get an accumulation.
Maybe.
I can only hope and pray. Are you a snow person, Sissy?
I'm a snow only, no ice.
No
person.
ice.
Yeah, I don't mind snow. It's just no ice.
No ice. Yeah, I can understand
Noise.
that. Nice ice is no good for nobody. I mean, I remember we've had our battles with the ice storms here in Newton before, and I can remember, oh man, it's been a long time ago now, 20 plus years ago, where they had a ice storm, and all night long, all it sounded like was gunfire going off, and
all
power, and
all
boom.
the trees.
And it was nuts. It was pretty interesting deal there. Yeah, it's hopefully we're not in for any of those type of surprises, but it'd definitely be interesting to have a little bit of snow early on in the year, and it's beginning to feel a lot like fall.
Yeah.
Not look like Christmas yet.
I had to break out the hoodie.
Yeah, you got to break out. I did. I got my coats all out, ready to go, and all that deal. So did you actually get a chance to watch all of the forums for either the school board race or the city commission race?
To be honest, I took in intermediate viewing of all the forums.
Okay.
Of course, I was present for one of the forums in its entirety, but the digital capture of our forum, I did not watch it from start to finish, but I enjoyed the clips that you produced. And then, of course, I intermittently watched both of the Facebook forums that were digitally captured. Because I could not attend and I was interrupted with life stuff in between. But, I got enough of a gist, I think, of what the candidates were talking about, what they're standing for. And I think there's some consistency there. And so, it's pleasing to see that from one forum to the next, they didn't change, it just improved.
Yeah,
so,
their delivery.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think they all pretty much had the message or what they were wanting for the public to know about themselves and why you should or shouldn't vote for them. And I noticed as well as you that as they got more, had more forums underneath their belt, that they did just progressively get a little bit better. We had not planned. I mean, I want to say it again because I want to cover something here that is happening now, I guess you could say, in reference to the most recent school board forum. And we at Harvey County Talk, the Kansan and Harvey County Digital decided to put on a forum because, number one, I mean, nobody had mentioned anything about doing a forum, and there wasn't really anything on the horizon. I assumed that the Chamber and the Harvey County Now would do their regular forum at the at the Meridian Center. So inquired a little bit about that, didn't hear much about that. We decided this was going to be our opportunity to go ahead and pull the trigger on wanting to digitally capture a well-produced forum in reference to elected officials within our community, like similar to what you would see on CAKE or KWCH when it comes to the Wichita mayoral debate. Now, when they're doing that and it's a studio, I mean, it's a, could be a live studio audience or a captive audience or whatever the case may be. But our forum was not necessarily private, given the fact that, well, everybody can see the results, which are public, that don't cost anybody any money whatsoever. Right. Okay. So we did this there. I talked with Chad last week. I don't know if you watched the podcast last week, but he kind of gave me his take. A week before that, we talked briefly, but a lot has happened since then. And I was just really wanting to hone in on this because we're getting pretty close to Election Day. We put out the forum. Anybody can watch it. It's public. I already mentioned this once. So when we're talking about whether or not this was something that was open to the public, in reference, could you say that maybe it was, Sissy, or no?
Well, I think attendance, physical attendance, it had to be controlled to a certain point because of the size of the venue that we chose. And we chose that venue, as you've mentioned before and explained, for the acoustics of it, because we wanted to bring in the equipment. We wanted to be able to capture that professionally and make a high quality digital capture of the forum, so that way the candidates could benefit from that footage as well.
Yeah.
And so obviously we had to crowd control to a certain number of people. Yeah. So that's, that might be being misconstrued as private event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
But at the same time, our candidates were relying upon us to provide a secure environment.
Yeah.
And when you open it up to the public where anyone can show up, sometimes in a heated situation, especially with city commission and school board recent history, there have been some folks in the community that have been very vocal about how they disagree with certain candidates or certain officials that are on there.
Yeah.
And so,
boy, I'll tell you,
to provide the security for them, I think was the responsible thing to do.
Well, and that even dives a little bit deeper into my own personal experience with the whole thing. It's well, let's go to this, the forum that took place at the senior center. When I inquired about that to see whether that was going to be digitally projected or not, I don't think that they had that in mind, and we wanted to be able to do that. So the best that we could provide in that situation, really the best, is to put up a cell phone on a tripod and live feed it the best that we can, because we're limited in what we can do.
Right.
It's not that we can't do more. It's not that we couldn't do better or produce a better quality for YouTube or all these different places that you can go find this. It was more for just being able to help aid and making sure that it got digitally captured and projected. Now, with the most recent forum, I've come under a little bit of scrutiny, Sissy.
Have you?
I have, because I had something to say about something, of course, I showed up to the forum, and I knew where it was going to be, and I knew what it was going to be happening there, and I just never thought about it in these terms. But I put out a post that said, wouldn't it be really strange to hear that there's going to be a Newton City Commission forum held at City Hall in city chambers when there are incumbents currently running, or that the city is somehow involved in the actual process of a forum? Maybe not so strange since it's the school board. Now, somebody commented on that and had a few choice things to say, not necessarily anything horribly negative or anything, but they're entitled to their opinion.
Sure.
And I responded. in a way in which you can go to our social media page, and I personally came out and responded, but not to rest here. I really just took issue with the fact that we're having a school board forum held at where the school board meets. And then I'm sitting there watching the forum, and I see the school board president sitting center stage to this whole event. And I just thought to myself, does this seem strange to anybody but me? You know, I mean, because, and then my mind started working, Sissy, and I started thinking, well, is there any other time or situation in which something like this has transpired where that would be normal? Like, do I need to put myself in check here? I mean, is there, like, has this happened before, or, you know, the whole thing? And I don't want to rest on it too much, but it kind of bothered me a little bit, enough to make a comment about it, because if you talk about the city commission and you talk about the city doing that, or you put it, you know, I even mentioned it'd be like having a governor's debate in the governor's office at the State House.
Yeah. Conflict of interest.
Well, you would think, or what does that do for the power of incumbency? I mean, you're going to
all about optics.
Yeah, and I know in the past that this location has been used for legislative updates, and I'm sure at some point in time that they were probably used for a forum. I can't say. I digress. I may have made a mistake in saying this, but I don't think in the recent, and it's mostly due to a conflict of interest or the optics that are happening there. And I could have swore that I heard the person who opened up the forum say that it was in partnership between themselves, the chamber, and the school system, and then wanted to thank them for letting them use the building too.
Yeah,
you know?
I heard the same thing. So it did get my wheels turning as well.
I mean, maybe you misspoke, or maybe you don't know, or something, but there's a real unhealthiness that's taking place here. And I would just say for those that are not the incumbents, that are having to go and participate in a forum, or being requested to participate in a forum at the school admin building with the school board president running.
Yeah.
Anywho,
yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Along those lines.
Have at it. I'm sorry to be long-winded, people. I just was getting the rundown for Sissy, and we're going from there.
Yeah. So the thing that stuck out to me recently is I've been told repeatedly that the city commission and the school board are nonpartisan races, which means that they don't have to declare their preference of party or the party they represent, or whatever it is, right? Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. So, but I'm seeing a lot of sponsorship for certain candidates by certain party pages, paid for by certain party chairs or treasurers, or, you know, their names are out there as being supported by, funded by possibly. And I'm confused as a citizen who is looking at the voting process, the campaigning process, being, you know, involved with that, paying close attention. It seems to be rather confusing. Maybe I'm the only one, but I don't think so, because I've had a couple other people ask me how they can declare sponsorship for certain candidates when the candidates are supposed to be nonpartisan. So you said all that to say, help me understand if you can.
Yeah. Oh, to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, traditionally speaking, because it is a nonpartisan race, the state of Kansas has determined in their own way that we're not going to have any of these candidates declare a party. We don't want, really, I hate to say it, partisanship so ingrained in this process that it becomes, well, nothing but that, especially when we're talking about school board or city commission. Now, political parties have the ability to endorse anybody they want at any point in time. They have the funding to do that, and they can do that as long as, depending upon what they do, how they do it, there's a disclaimer of some kind.
I see.
If you're going to produce an ad, then you have to have who paid for that. If you go produce a sign, you don't have to have any paid for ad at all on it, right? So if you do a mailer, so there's campaign finance laws, right? If I'm saying this correctly, that then would say, you know, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And if you go out as an organization and publicly endorse someone running for elected office, doesn't matter what election, but someone running for elected office, and you want to endorse them, then you have to have a paid for buy. Now, I've long standing believed that political parties need to be involved that they are involved. Some would argue that's not the case. I'm not going to be disingenuous and say, well, I don't think that political parties should be involved in nonpartisan races because, well, I'm telling you from personal experience, when you go out and you knock on somebody's door, 9 times out of 10, they don't want to know what anything other than your national beliefs. Are you pro-life or pro-choice? Are you a Republican or Democrat? Are you a Republican or Democrat is the number one question that I was asked. Until everybody kind of knew I was Republican. And then, you know, if you think, oh, Republicans all bad, then you didn't answer the door. You know, if you think, well, Lance is not my kind of Republican, then you don't answer the door. Or, you know, I don't know. I'm just saying, as I've journeyed through this, to be totally honest, Sissy, you've known me and you've known me through this entire path. I am somebody that naively just wanted to participate in the process because I felt like I had something to offer my long-standing community that I have lived in forever and been a part of. No, I wasn't born here, but almost, right? And then, well, I'm a Kansan through and through, right? So here we are, right? Why wouldn't I have any more opportunity to do what I wanted to do? And I really believed that it was about standing up and speaking what you believed was the truth about certain situations that are taking place, and then hope that that resonated with people. I knew that there was people that would resonate with because I got most of what I was talking about from the community and knocking on doors, right? I'm just kind of like your spokesperson. Now, whether I'm a great one or not, I mean, that could take us into national topics right quickly, but it comes back to the fact that, you know, don't ever be deceived to believe that there aren't people that will do things, whether they win, lose, or draw, just so that way they can be part of the process. It's like, are you going anywhere, Sissy? Am I going anywhere? If you want to be part of the process, you get to be part of the process. There's nobody that comes along and coronates you to be part of the process.
Well, not usually.
I mean, that's kind of what elections are, right? I guess people have been misled to believe that, well, you know, people that are not elected somehow or another can't influence change. And then if you are just persistent in that, then throughout the course of that time, you actually get to be part of the change that happens.
Right.
You don't have to be elected.
Right. So going back to that, sponsored by a political party, one party or the other. So as a voter, it's important to me because I understand partisanship. I understand the political functions. I mean, that's what my master's is in. But anyway, I also know what trends this day and age. And if you're identified as a Democrat or you're identified as a Republican or a leftist or a moderate or a centrist or a conservative or an ultra form of any of those things, right? Then that kind of can put voters that might be looking at you as the right person for the job while you're running as someone maybe they won't look at. Well, seriously.
And that's possible.
That's where I thought this was going. Was that A, B, and C leads to D, E, F. So we don't want voters to think, you know, if a candidate has willingly accepted a sponsorship or an endorsement by someone of a political party here in Newton, then we don't want the voters to be turned off to them. That's my point.
Well, I mean, hey, you know, I mean, that goes back to the fact that I was talking with somebody, and I've actually had quite a few people ask me, well, how am I going to vote? And then I had a few ask me, well, why don't you just come out on your program and tell everybody you're going to vote for?
Right.
And I was thinking,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have that discussion. We'll have this discussion. What do you think, Sissy? Not to just derail us into the ditch, but, you know, started earlier with having the conversation. Did you get to watch all of these forums? And I got to watch all the forums. And I kind of am where I was going to go vote today, and I didn't get the chance to go vote today, but I'm going to go vote tomorrow, and I don't think much is going to happen overnight that's going to change my belief on who I'm voting for and why.
Well, I'm going to go on Monday.
Okay.
And I'll tell you who I'm going to vote for.
Have at it, Sissy.
All right. So I'm going to vote on school board.
You got to tell me whys.
I'm going to vote Heidi Hoskinson.
Okay.
And Melissa Schreiber.
Okay.
Those are my rock stars of the whole group,
Okay.
right? And rock star for me is pretty important and pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're
right?
totally awesome.
So I'm absolutely sold on those two gals, but that's it. So I believe there's 2 other spots
Yeah.
yet to make a decision there.
Well, you only have to vote for 2, Sissy. You don't have to vote for more.
I thought there was 4.
You can vote for 4.
Oh, well, I'll vote for 4.
But you don't have to vote
Yeah.
for 4. See, what you're doing is, and this is a little thing we talk about, how these political parties aren't supposed to be involved. But one thing I've heard referenced in the past, and seems to be kind of the trend of one political party right now today, not to make anybody mad. But what you're seeing is the Harvey County Democrat Party come out openly and endorse specific individuals. You notice how they're only endorsing 2 individuals.
I did notice that.
Okay, or for commissions, same thing. They said who they wanted to support, right? They want you to vote for Melanie Watson, and they want you to vote for Richard Stinnett. Okay, so if you go vote for them and you don't vote for nobody else, then you're not giving somebody else a vote.
Right.
You're almost taking a vote away from them.
Oh, well, no, I don't look at it that way.
Well, it's interesting how that can take the place of just going and straight up voting for the 3 most likely candidates that you think would do the best job in an order.
Right, like a voter is supposed to consider.
Yeah, but there's, hanky-pankies when it comes to that kind of thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, vote for however many spots are open.
I didn't, people. I really didn't know when I got involved in politics. Once again, I openly admit that I naively stumbled into politics and then became defensive when everybody was throwing stuff my way, not to make any excuses, but then I had to get seasoned and realize, oh, this is just the way people are.
Right.
They'll talk before they even know what they're talking about.
Right.
And you just have to let them talk themselves into the situation that they're in. And I tell you, when you talk about people that are incumbents running for office again, on the school board, there's only one that's earned my vote. And that's Melissa Schreiber.
Yeah.
And I think because she's actually shown some real leadership. I mean, I'm one of these people that pay attention, folks. I mean, you know me. I am somebody that pays attention. And yes, I'm always involved. That's because I want to be involved. That's because I make the time and make the decision to want to be involved, because I'm a firm believer that city commission and school board have a lot of authority when it comes to how my day-to-day life operates. What kind of quality of education my kids are going to have in my school. What's the taxes that I'm legitimately going to be paying? What are the roads that are getting fixed? The parks, the amenities that I have, whether I have a nice trash service. These are things that are my day-to-day life. And I can reach out and be a part of it by doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Right.
Or showing up to a forum or asking a question. And all of us have different varying degrees. But knowing that I'm this involved and that I pay this close attention, there is one school board candidate that has absolutely I've lost all respect for them. Not necessarily as a person, I don't think it's getting to that point, but I would say, as far as doing the job, what a buyer's remorse I have. And I'm not one of these fall in line people that's just like, oh, this is the candidate we're supposed to support, so let's do that. Obviously, we're going to walk through that. So,
Yeah.
So you got
So-
2, right? What do you think
Right.
about? What do you think? I love Dr. Heidi Hoskinson.
Yeah,
I
she's
do.
pretty awesome.
The first time I met her was when she was talking to me about being the director, I think is what it's called, a fanfare for the Newton Sluggin Rebels.
Fan fun.
Fan fun, yes.
Fan fun coordinator.
Fan fun coordinator. And I was
love
like,
it.
oh, you're a rock star.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
rock star.
Well, and then we get to meet her, right?
Yeah.
Her reputation preceded her gracefully.
Yes.
And she's just better in person. So.
Yeah. Dr. Hoskinson. So
yeah.
if you're getting out there to vote and you don't know who to vote for, well, she's got my stamp of approval.
Yeah.
And Melissa Schreiber has my stamp of approval.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I'm undecided on the others. I'll make a decision before Monday, obviously, because that's when I'm going to vote. There are a couple that really are up there and a couple that are not midway. But, I really wish that they would have been more active on social media. You know, I don't know these folks personally. I don't know a lot of people personally. I don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And it seems really weird, but I like to read.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I have a child that keeps me pretty busy.
Well, you're
so,
not totally plugged into the social medias like me.
well, and I'm
sissies.
not. I'm not involved in a lot of committees around town. A lot of these folks, I think, are in concentric circles with each other and other people in the community, and I'm just not. So, not yet, anyway. I'm hoping to branch out a little bit. So, but on the city commission, I
don't want to move on from the school board yet, Sissy.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't even know if we need to talk about the city commission in a whole lot of detail. I think the school board is really more. I think that's going to be the race to watch. I think we kind of can deduce on the city commission what will happen pretty easily.
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I'm just going to say it outright. I think 3 up, 3 down. I think that Richard Stinnett has done a awesome job. Obviously, I believe he needs to be reelected, just because of what he's been able to accomplish during his 4 years and how he's conducted himself and everything under the sun that you could ask from somebody who's entrusted with your vote to be your mayor or your vice mayor, hopefully the next go around, you know.
Right.
I think Kathy, like I said in the past, we've had our differences on policy and whatnot, but I don't think right now is the time to try to derail course when it comes to the city commission. So it'd be nice to have 2 incumbents in that come back. Also on that, then you're left with, you know, not much other options. And I know right now that the Democrat Party is supporting Melanie Watson, and I don't see any party coming out endorsing Van Meter. And Van Meter has some experience. I'm really shaping up to just go ahead and pull the trigger on Van Meter and vote for him. I mean, so there's my 3. If you're asking for my opinion, a lot of people have for some reason, but that's where I'm at on that, folks.
Yeah.
So,
well, I enjoyed meeting Mr. Thompson. Also Mr. Van Meter. I spent more time visiting with Mr. Thompson.
I like Eric.
You know,
I like Eric. I like him. I like him as I talk to him a lot.
Yeah.
He'll tell you that I make it a point to talk to Eric because I like Eric.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed hearing about his experience. I enjoyed hearing about his perspective. I also enjoyed hearing about Mr. Van Meter's history and his travels and things like that. Again, Melanie Watson. Don't know her. Yeah. I really, just the one at the forum at the senior center was really the only time I've heard her talk. And so, I know she's been established herself on Facebook as a campaign page, but it's just sharing the same thing. So I was a little disappointed. I thought, we would have more information, but it is what it is. And like I said, we can deduce maybe what will transpire at the end for the city, but the school board, that is the one to watch, I think, because that, I think, we're all children centered. A lot of us in our age group have kids in the school system, and it's really important, really paramount and imperative that we have a school board that we can put our muscle and faith behind.
Okay, and then so I gotta tell you, Sissy, I have 2 more. Okay. I have 2 more, and it's gonna probably blow some people's minds. And if you didn't make my list, it's nothing personal. We all have the ability to pick from everybody that's there, and I don't think I'm an election influencer necessarily, so I'm just giving people my opinion, right? I really like Erica Stevens. I think that she represents somebody that's going to bring new vision. I think that she's been able to be enough involved in our community to be able to decide, hey, this is a community that I came to. She's openly admitted that she loves our community, and she's one of the ones that uniquely bring up the fact that the school board or the school system is an economic development driver. And I think we had a little bit of debate here recently about that, because I think there was some current elected school board officials that wanted to pretend like the school system is not an economic driver. So we get into this what's opinion, and in my opinion, I want somebody who's looking at it from the perspective that they are a very large economic driver for a community. They just are.
Right.
And I like her for that. And she's new. I believe that she's kept herself very consistent throughout. A lot of the candidates have. And I'm looking forward for her to get elected if she does. Another one, and it's going to throw everybody for a loop, but I really like Sarah Getchell. I do. I mean, I like Sarah. I like Ian Long. It's not anything personal with these people.
Right.
Right. But
we
I
don't know them
watched,
personally,
I
right?
watched these people before. Okay. I know how some of these people conducted themselves during some hard issues when it came to Walton. I know how people conducted themselves when there was some hard issues when it came to the Railer Way. And I'm here to tell you that some people not being real honest. Your actions from the past can't change the future, right? You can't look at it today and say, oh, well, I was, I understood the situation and I'm able to handle myself in this way or that way or the other way, but you didn't. You just didn't.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, people, I'm just going to say, there's a few school board candidates right now that are running based upon the situation at Walton.
Yeah.
And I'm not voting for them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to vote for them. And hey, maybe my endorsement's not one you want. Feel free to come out and be like, no, I shed Lance's endorsement because people that don't like Lance will not vote for me because Lance said, like, I have that kind of power.
Right. Well, I don't know. I enjoyed listening to Mr. Long speak at the board meetings. I think he brought a parental perspective. I know a lot of us did not go. I had opportunity to go and speak. I chose not to for whatever reason. His voice seemed to be a voice that needed to be heard during those discussions. So I appreciate his boldness and his willingness to go do that. Because at first he was really the only one that was going out there and saying the things that he was saying. And that brought a new perspective or a new layer to consider, right, in the public, in the community.
Absolutely.
And so, hopefully, if he is elected to a post there, that he will continue to develop those strategies and bring that new perspective and layer to the board. So, Sarah Getchell, again, only in the forums. I don't have any previous record to compare to her. Erica Stevens, the same. I did appreciate that she is family oriented. I know that Sarah Getchell talked about her family as well. So there's that. Yeah. I think that our board members really need to be in touch with the school system in real time. Yeah. I think that if they do not have children in the district, I think that there is a separation that they can't, I don't know what it's like they have to look at it from the outside.
Yeah. From the parental perspective, because they're not the parent.
Right. Their parent, their children may have already been gone from the district and now, so, and with small children, like in Erica's case, she's got one, I think, at Chisholm. Yep. One at the high school, and then one starting.
Fixing to be, yeah.
Right. So she's
got them staggered.
So she sees a perspective of different school buildings, different teaching teams, different societies for her kids, because the buildings are a little society.
Well, and I'd say that she's got the heartbeat of that community.
Right. And being a business owner downtown, I'm sure that she sees a lot of different folks and has lots of conversations and, people know her and, so, who knows? Yeah. The two gentlemen do not know anything about them other than what I've seen at the forum. So I really don't know on those. And that's Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Christ.
Yeah. Which is kind of surprising, folks, because, well, I don't know, the last 2 years that I ran for city commission, it seemed like there was a lot more going on. A lot more signs, a lot more activity. I mean, I'm just very interested in the end, why such lackluster effort? I mean, on pretty much, I'm not going to say everybody's account, but there's nobody really out here pushing themselves to the community. I don't think anybody's knocking on any doors. Maybe they are. I don't think anybody's really putting out any signs. You might see a few, but in the end,
Right.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I just bring it out in people, Sissy. You think I just bring it out in people?
What you mean? Argumentativeness? No, I'm just joking.
You gotta love me.
No, and going back to our forum, that's one of the things that we set in our brief, that our goal setting that we did was with Chad and with Harvey County Digital. We wanted to provide a high quality professional production that the candidates could benefit from. And, we know how expensive things are normally, and then you throw a campaign season on there.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people probably have a whole lot of money to be going out and buying merch and paraphernalia that will help get their name out there.
Yeah.
So to at least from my perspective, I really felt like that was a huge part of why we did what we did. Because it was a win-win, right? Yeah. That may be the only tool that the candidate might have had to push out
almost
to the community that they are representing or that they're communicating to.
Yeah, because let's say that we wouldn't have done anything and the chamber and the Now didn't get it done at the last minute. I mean, they were 2 weeks to D-Day, right? I mean, and just getting
and
it
early voting
together
has already started.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't know. I think timing is everything in a campaign season, and I think observers like us, I think the early bird gets the worm, and I think that I think we did a great service for the candidates. I hope that they feel the same way.
And in the future we will. Oh no, all of them were perfectly fine. I don't know any of them that said, "Hey, no, that was bad." In fact, yeah, we did exactly what we came to do, Sissy. We knocked it out of the park. A few things differently. That's what Chad said last week. Got some constructive criticism, which we'll keep moving on. But we did it for you, folks.
Yeah.
So, we have waded into some deep waters here, Sissy. Some very deep waters that I'm sure we'll have to explain again and explain away. But we really are to coming close on Election Day. And this is the last episode that, well, no, there'll be one more. But by then, it's kind of too late. I mean, by the time it gets circulated around, it.
Well, and I think I heard from somebody that knows Rick Pifo that said that the voting numbers are very low.
Yes, so
and
far.
not meeting expectation yet.
Well,
so I'm hoping that maybe we can spur the folks get out and vote.
Go vote, people.
Folks.
I mean, why is nobody interested? Is it the group of candidates that we've been given, or is it because people are watching to more things that are going on somewhere else? And I personally think at this point, a lot of people are probably watching everything that's going on outside of us and what we're doing. And I'll say this, just so people know, Harvey County Talk is a podcast that talks about everything local, but also everything else from a local perspective. So Sissy's got something that's on her mind. It's been troubling me for the last couple weeks myself. We really didn't talk about it on the program. We wanted to make sure and bring, if we were going to, wander into this, talking about some pretty sensitive issues nationally and give it a little bit of time. But what is going on in Israel right now?
Right. So I think, according to what I've observed and read the last couple of days, the United States is mobilizing troops, mobilizing equipment to not only help Israel, but also to maybe do some security stuff to prevent innocent civilians, collateral damage, if you will, from being, in the maelstrom of this ground attack or a ground invasion that Israel is planning. Yeah. I know they've gone into the north of the Gaza Strip, and they've been making announcements for civilians to leave, to get out in time, and giving them lots of time to get out. Now, I am not so naive and untouched by the world that I would assume that everybody can have the means to leave, right? Because they may not, right? Yeah. So, but there have been some accidental bombings on both sides, and I think that everybody is focusing on that, and that is important. But I think what we need to take the 30,000 foot aerial view of this, and we need to get out of the emotionalism of these poor innocent people. I mean, that's where I was when this started.
Yeah.
And say, what role is the United States going to play here? Because if the United States gets involved full force, Joe Biden actually said, he told the Ayatollah, who's leader of Iran, that if he does this, then he better be prepared for this. Now, the thises were omitted in the clip I saw, but he said the words. So he is declaring that he has had personal conversation with the leader of Iran, who we all fear, and I say we all, the people I've talked with, we all fear that if the United States gets involved full force to come to the aid of Israel, then Iran will get involved, which means that Hezbollah, the Yemeni group, and I'm talking militant groups like ISIS type stuff, Al-Qaeda, right? So you have Hamas, then you have Hezbollah, that's Lebanon, then you have the Yemenis, which and I think they're Houthis or something, Houthis or something.
I know, I can't necessarily.
Sorry, I should have written that note out, but
Houthis, I think.
Yeah,
Houthis.
Something. But they're militant, terroristic, like sectarian, all that.
Like ISIS, like Al Qaeda.
Right, and then you have, and Iran is a known funder of all of these groups, right?
Yeah.
So I said on the last time we talked about this, I was concerned about convergence if the Saudis got involved. Well, I don't think that's the hinge pin anymore.
Yeah.
I think the hinge pin is Iran, and they are mobilizing people in these militant groups right now. And there's been some back and forth across the Lebanese-Israeli border.
I'm kind of waiting to even say anything because this is just quickly spiraling out of control. And I would say, you hear of World War I, you do any history on that, Duke Ferdinand moment, the assassination of Duke Ferdinand, is what basically was the straw that broke the camel's back, that everybody just went into a frenzy. And this created this chain reaction that created this chain reaction that created this chain. We're watching this happen live time.
Right.
And coupled with the fact that I'm amazed at the amount of people that are unable to separate Palestine or the Palestinians from Hamas.
Right.
When you talk about Hamas, that is a terrorist organization that, in some countries are pretty much a political ideology, or what we in the modern world would call political ideology or political belief system, maybe even, a religious dogma, right?
Right.
But, when they get involved, similar to the Taliban and what they were able to do in Afghanistan, and when they are operating as they do in these countries that, I hate to say it, for all intents and purposes have weak governments and weak militaries because of the way that they've existed for so many years, with different militias trading hands with who's in power at the time, that now we've set ourselves up for a situation, I say ourselves, knowing that we are an ally to Israel. Right. And it's almost like we're just getting pulled in. But when you ask yourself the question, what started all this? We were briefly discussing it, and you had mentioned some things that I had just missed right at the beginning. And what started all this? Just a outright, deliberate terrorist attack on Israel from Hamas.
Right.
Admittedly.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about like a few people. We're talking about hundreds, over 1,000 people massacred at the hands of Hamas.
Right.
And so Israel's response is, well, we're going to go to war with Hamas. But there's literally people out here that now have tried to flip the message and say, and you're seeing it, we're seeing it in Congress with the group, or what are they called? The block, or whatever.
The squad.
The squad.
Yeah.
Squids.
Squad.
Whatever they are.
right?
Sounds like a group of kookamoos to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you could even call yourself an American and literally advocate for terrorism amongst any people, let alone the Jewish people, given the
Right.
history anyway.
Right.
Sorry, I'm monologuing, Sissy,
No,
but
it's
geez
fine.
Louise. I mean,
Yeah.
we're shooting down stuff. We're moving aircraft carriers.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed today that there's been injuries by U.S.
Right.
Military. No, deaths. I don't think
so
yet.
far since the 7th. Well, I shouldn't say since the 7th of October when this started, because we weren't involved then.
Yeah.
But we have bases still in various Middle Eastern locations.
Yeah.
Right. 10 attacks in the last couple of weeks. 10 attacks.
Yeah. And did I hear right that Biden is almost ready to tell everybody in the U.S., like, wherever you go, be on the lookout? At this point,
I don't
it's
know,
like
but
if you leave the U.S., you're a target.
Oh no, they did. They always put out this
Yeah,
statement.
don't go to this
saying,
country. Don't go to that
if you travel,
country.
beware of the
Yes.
danger. Beware of the risks. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to have State Department putting out those disclaimers to people.
Yeah.
They're probably in the airports. They may even have it when you get your ticket.
But are we literally
like
here?
FYI.
I mean, think
type of
about
thing,
it.
right?
We just got done with a 20-year war in the Middle East.
Right.
We're having all kinds of problems with Russia right now, China right now. I mean, this is real-time stuff. And then we go over there, and now we're into the middle of an action, and we're over here in Ukraine, kind of.
I think Ukraine is lost. I do. I don't think that they've been put down, but I think it's a lost cause for the United States. I don't even think that our money going over there is really doing any kind of good now.
But that's a bold move by Russia, boy.
Well, see, and the concern, I don't know if you know who retired General McGregor is.
Have at me.
But he's a good, he can take that aerial view of the thing, right? And with his, he's a retired general. I mean, he spent many years in the United States military. Not sure what branch, Army, Marine, something like that. He was recently on Tucker Carlson and talked. Tucker really asked him some questions and gave him a green light to just monologue and just answer openly and not yes or no's. So it was very informative as far as looking at the big picture, especially with the threat of Iran getting involved, because with that, remember we were talking about BRICS?
Yeah.
Okay. So with the addition of Iran to BRICS, that then involves those countries again. That anti-NATO conglomeration. I say anti-NATO. It's like
It's
the
like
Democrats
the NATO,
and
but
Republic
the
of NATO, right?
Yeah. We're like
Okay.
the anti-U.
Anti-U.
Well, like the anti-U. We're not, you are the NATO and we are the opposite of
Oh,
you.
right.
Anti-U.
Just a different, a
You're
different.
like,
I was like, wait,
well,
I was thinking
Democrats
sheep
and
for some
Republicans.
reason. I don't know.
I'm
you,
a Republican because I'm not a Democrat,
Yeah.
and Democrats are Democrats because they're not Republicans.
I see. So anyway, there's a threat that Russia will support Iran because of BRICS. Now, McGregor doesn't really go into the BRICS thing. That was just something that I uncovered when I was researching that group of countries. But we know from years of public school education, the long history of the glasnost and the ceasefires and the nuclear deals between Russia and the United States, right?
Yeah.
We know that's been an ongoing thing for nearly 40 years, right? Well, that doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
right? That's past, that's expired. So when we start talking about Iran being supported by Russia, we have to really consider the fact that that is a real-time nuclear conversation.
Yeah.
So,
because they can give them all they need to be able to hit the power
I am fully
button.
convinced that Iran is already nuclear capable.
Yeah. Oh, I would believe that. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Even without the Iran nuclear deal that keeps them from getting
and
uranium.
just take into consideration
Right.
the situations that we find ourselves when we go into these, I'm not going to say it, not nearly developed and capable countries in the region that are not like Iran. Iraq came the closest to being probably the most stable of a government that was able to produce, a war machine. And Iran's got it taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I think what we learned with the 20-year Afghanistan conflict is that we cannot take for granted that the third world countries are not technologically capable.
Yeah.
We just cannot do that anymore.
Yeah.
Used to be, that's this little teeny tiny country in this part of the world that is poor and depressed.
Yeah.
Their people don't have enough food. But I guarantee you they're getting money from somewhere and they're putting that into use.
Well, and I'll be even more skeptical and say this. I'm of the belief, that we should still be completely aware of the military industrial complex. And I think it's interesting how on many given occasions there might be a war taking place in Afghanistan, but that doesn't mean that there's not people getting dropped into surrounding countries, coming in and utilizing that as an opportunity to do damage to the U.S., to cost the U.S. more money, to subvert their cause in the region because it's better for others to be unstable.
Well, think about where the majority of the Americans' focus has been in the last 3.5 years. Where's it been? Not over there.
Here.
Right here. I mean, are we still talking about January 6th?
Oh, yeah. And all the other things that
we're still doing that.
Well, that's because we're wanting to force an outcome in an election.
But that's by design.
Yeah.
If they can get the focus here, then they don't have the focus over here. No one's looking over here. This is why this is happening, right? And the Israel, Palestine, Jewish, Muslim thing has been going on for centuries. Yeah. That is not new. And the land ceding, that is not new. The peace deals are not new. The almost peace deals, the almost ceasefires that fizzle out because somebody gets greedy and decides to go back on an agreement, that is not new, right? What is new is you've got convergence with all of these other countries. That's where our focus needs to be. That's what we need to be paying attention what Secretary of State Blinken says, Lloyd Austin, who is our Joint Chief. We need to pay attention to retired generals, what they're saying. We need to pay attention to what the politicians are saying, right? They're still trying to fund Ukraine, but now they're putting it as earmarked on Israel aid.
And how confident are you at this point in time of it being in the current president's hands? Everything that's happening right now and him being the commander in chief, do you feel comfortable with that individual in the White House as the commander in chief right now?
I don't feel comfortable with anybody being at the red button. I'm not comfortable with the idea of pushing that button at all, ever, or being on the receiving end of that red button from somebody else. As far as my confidence in Joe Biden, I do have concerns, but I would have the same concerns for anyone in that position, because what kind of mood are they in? What kind of headspace are they in? What information have they been given? I mean, look what happened with the Bay of Pigs back when Kennedy was in. He was a smart guy. He had good advisors. He had a great team of people around him, and he still got bad information and almost got us into hot water.
Yeah.
And it was at the last minute that he pulled back and said, wait a minute. So, I'd rather not get there.
Yeah.
Because we may not have that last minute whoopsie daisy. This is bad intel. Yeah, I don't know. It's a time we're living in.
I would like to quote the president. Don't.
Okay.
Speaking of that, and we are coming to the end of the program.
We are.
And I hope that everybody enjoyed us kind of getting off topic for this to give our in-depth analysis on everything news related in the Harvey County.
And beyond.
From a local perspective as well, folks.
Right.
We're known for anything. This is an entertaining program. That's the point. We hope. Entertain you. You're awful entertaining, and so am I, Sissy.
Yeah, but I'm cute.
That too.
So.
That too. And you wear it so well. So, as always, you get to have the last word by speaking directly to the hearts and the minds of those listening this week to the program. What do you got for us, Sissy?
So, folks, if you're not registered to vote, you can't register anymore. But if you are, get out there to the courthouse, show your ID, step right into the booth, cast your vote, be confident, be courageous, you can do it. And if you don't vote, you have nothing to say about the outcome. That's it.
Well, thank you, Sissy, and we'll see everybody next week.